show you.
Yeah. So we are at the terrain of what's called the Hasag Pelzeri work camp. This is not only a factory. It's called Pelzeri because before the wars there was a weaving house. Pelzer is a weaver in Polish, and there was a weaving house called Pelzeri here. And during the war, it was given to a German industrialist called Hugo Schneider that was in good terms with the Ministry of War and the Gestapo. And he was given property and workforce to manufacture ammunition. And they were manufacturing here mostly cannon bolts, not bolts, like bullets, how do you call it, rounds.
Yeah.
And this is not only the factory itself, but all the buildings around it were living quarters, and the white building, if I'm not mistaken, was the headquarters of the camp. When all other Jewish residence areas in Częstochowa were liquidated, so after the liquidation of the main ghetto, there still remained the small ghetto, and people were marching here daily. But even after the liquidation of the small ghetto, people were marched here. They stayed here at those places, and this factory continued working until the last days of the war. The Red Army walked in here and liberated people living here. Around 5,000, I think the number is around 4,700 Jewish workers were freed from this camp, and many of them local, around 1,500 local. This brings into debate, or just into consideration, of fighting versus cooperating. Right? There were much better chances to survive cooperating and giving the Germans what they wanted. When high school kids come to Poland and have the trips and talk about Judenrat and the revolt in the Warsaw Ghetto. So Warsaw Ghetto, people of the Jewish combat organization chose to fight, and the ghetto was annihilated, demolished. The Lodz Ghetto said, we'll give the Germans all they want, we'll be the best factory they can imagine, and there are more survivors from Lodz. It's a very hard question. I don't want to put myself in those shoes, but we do need to take it into consideration. Many people who survived by submitting themselves to the worst needs of the German. In this case, manufacturing ammunition, but not only working, but giving them ammunition. So there were ways, and people were proud that they were giving bad ammunition, and they were doing some little malfunctions inside the things. But this is part of the story, right? What's incredible that this is a living neighborhood quarters. Until recently, it was very, very poor. The person's, our taxi driver, said that he remembers that in the 70s it was still a guarded separate enclosure with a budka at the beginning and a roadblock. And nowadays you can see there are people living here at those
washing lines.
Mostly very poor families, but
See the way.
Laundry is drying. Laundry machines and so on. But on the way when we were here, some of the buildings were renovated and they look kind of fine, right? Because this looks shabby. This is a crappy place to live in town, but it looks like it's getting there. The factory was even working until mid-70s, and this is reality in Poland. Like memorial sites are still sites where people are living, and in many cases have no other option but to live with those shadows and places around them. Yeah.
See, my father actually worked he had a work experience in a jute factory. Would this be it?
In what?
Jute, making jute.
Like
Why would
materials.
this
No,
be
he
it?
said this was for armaments.
So
What is
why do you
jute?
think this would be?
Usually some material.
Utah, okay.
Jute.
Utah.
Utah, yeah.
Also in Polish, Utah. No.
Yeah. No,
Probably not here.
Ammunition factory.
But there were the peltery was a weaving thing, but I don't think that they were making Utah.
What does
What's
it
that
say on
say
the
here?
little